From the shadowed peaks of the Salt Lake Valley to the mist-covered banks of the Hudson Valley and all across the globe, the signal drifts through the night. This is Midnight Signals. Now, here are your hosts, Sergeant Shenanigator and Alien Mike.
Alien Mike, what's going on tonight, man?
What's up, buddy? How are you doing? Nice
I'm
ears.
I'm digging the new hat you got.
I know. The hat and Blorp.
Oh, Blorp. Hey,
Yeah,
Blorp, we hate you.
Yeah, I had to make an appearance today.
Yeah.
All right.
So, well, before we begin this,
Yeah.
our sincere apologies. All kidding aside, we told you Blorp took my computer. My laptop actually took a dive. It died on me.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but
Yep.
life happens.
And then ordered another computer. It got here and would not power on.
So yeah, you sent that back, right? Then
Yeah,
you're
it's been
waiting for a
sent
new one?
back, and the new replacement should be here tomorrow.
Okay. So I'm on the computer. Oh, there's Sakona. I'm on the computer running your job for you, and you're on your phone.
Yep. Stakona, we are actually live this time, unlike last night.
Yeah, that was good old Mike screw up, not knowing what he was doing. But I do have a question for you. Can you see Steve live? Clear, not live, clear. Because Steve, you're coming in a little bit fuzzy to me.
Huh,
But I don't know if
interesting.
that's just because of your phone or whatnot. But Nadine, it's good to see you. How are you doing? I thought you guys hated me. See, no, not at all. It is so different. I'm trying to look at everything, Steve, that is on the screen here, and now I know why you're going like this the whole time. Because
I'm wanting to do it now. I've still got the monitors over behind the cell phone, and I keep looking over at them.
yeah, I'm trying to I see the live, the countdown, the YouTube thing, how many people I can see are in.
Yeah.
Where can I get my own Midnight Signal stamped tinfoil hat? I'm sure we can send out a few. A little make your own tinfoil hat.
So I'll be the first to order.
There you go. Nadine, real quick, I need you to send me your address. Text me your address. And anybody else, I've got the stickers. I haven't done anything with them yet, but I've got a bunch of the decals made up.
Oh, those decals are great too. I love them.
Yep.
I've got to get another one from you because the first one you gave me is on the back of my laptop.
Oh, yep. Yeah, I've got a few of them. I don't know where I put them. They're somewhere around here. But yeah, I've got a bunch of different ones, and we can make a whole bunch more.
And I forgot to tell you, Mike, to highlight the comments, you just single click on the name and drop down. You'll see show on screen.
Oh, that's what it is. My cursor was hovered over Nadine's, and it kept saying show on screen every time she messaged something, but I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So this is what. God damn it! Oh, there we go.
So
yeah, you look a little bit fuzzy.
So a little bit fuzzy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, till the laptop comes in, I think that's going to be how it is.
Yeah, and not a problem. We'll make do with what we have, and
Yep.
I think we can manage. But,
as long as I don't freeze as bad as I did last night.
Oh, it wasn't that you were freezing. It
just kept dumping me.
Yeah, you would completely log off. It would just go black, and then it would come back on. Yeah. So I don't know what the deal was. But so,
if it gets too bad, I'll move down closer to the Wi-Fi and see if that helps.
Okay. So,
but I'm sure I've got such a high quality cell phone that the fuzziness is due to that.
Yeah.
I didn't splurge this time, and I bought the cheapest cell phone, so I'm sure that's all it is.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I've got an iPhone 14, and people ask me all the time if I'm going to upgrade. Nope. It works. I am not spending the money on another cell phone. I do not care.
No, I've got for pictures and video, I got an old Samsung Galaxy Note 20 downstairs. Takes
Yep.
great pictures. But I'm not going to worry about it.
No, it's a waste of money with how much they are now. It's just
It
pointless.
is. So what are we going to talk about tonight?
So tonight we are doing the triangles, Bermuda Triangle, Hudson Triangle, and the Alaska Triangle. I'm sure everybody knows what the Bermuda Triangle is. It's the ones in Alaska and the one in Hudson is essentially the same thing. So it's just a different location in a different environment.
And some different anomalies.
Yeah, some different anomalies. Like one of the ones I have, I don't think you could classify it under the same as what happens in the Bermuda Triangle, but it's similar and it leads into other things. So
I think what I found out about the Hudson Valley Triangle, I was afraid it was just going to be nothing but UFOs. I was wrong.
Yeah. So do you want to go ahead and explain what the Hudson Triangle is? And
the Hudson Triangle is a line from, it's kind of, some people argue about it. Some people say it's a line from Sleepy Hollow. Some people say it's actually Westchester, but it goes, we'll go with the Sleepy Hollow. From Sleepy Hollow up to Pine Bush, down to Poughkeepsie, over to back to Sleepy Hollow.
Okay.
And it seems to have a lot of anomalies. It's huge. This was a triangle that the 1980s UFO wave. This is the area it was centered around.
Okay.
They had some outside the triangle, but most of them were centered inside the triangle.
Okay, because everything that I looked up was just the basics about it. Since that's where you live, I figured you could do that one. But the stuff I did see, it basically was just the massive UFO. Here comes the stuttering. The massive UFO sightings in the 1980s.
Yeah, that's a majority of what started the Hudson Valley Triangle.
Okay.
But there are some other areas that are some other anomalies that I ended up tracking down that go back to Native American folklore. And it's all within the same area.
Oh, interesting. So I need to learn to keep on track of this, but that's a good question. Not trying to jump ahead, but are the triangles caused by 3 ley lines?
Yes, actually, Bermuda is. The Alaska Triangle is. The Hudson Triangle.
It crosses a couple, doesn't it?
It does cross, but there's no intersection in it, like there is in the Bermuda Triangle or the Alaskan Triangle.
Right.
So, but like when I get to telling the stories of the Hudson Triangle, it does tie into another triangle that the ley lines do intersect.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool.
So what about the Alaskan Triangle?
So the Alaska Triangle, it runs from Anchorage to Juneau. Well, I guess I should say from Juneau to Anchorage and then up to what is formerly known as Barrow, which is Utqiagvik. And the biggest thing there is just mass disappearances. So many people go missing in that area just because it's such a vast wilderness. The weather is just horrible. Then there's been, of course, the missing planes like there is in the Bermuda Triangle. And then they have UFO sightings and, Bigfoot and other legends like that. So it's pretty much the same as the Bermuda, just in a different location.
Yeah. Now I know Bermuda is from Miami to Bermuda Island.
Yep.
Is it down? Does it go down to Puerto Rico or further? No, it goes down to.
Is it the Bahamas? I think it's the Bahamas.
It's somewhere between the Bahamas and Barbados. There's an island
no.
out there.
It's San Juan. That's what it is.
San Juan.
Yeah. So Miami, Bermuda, and San Juan.
And again, it depends on who draws the lines, because the
Yep.
Bermuda Triangle, they say, is anywhere from 500,000 square miles to 1,000,005. So it just depends on who's drawing the lines. But for us, we're going to stick with the 500,000 square miles.
Yeah. I mean, there was some places that I looked that it said that the Bermuda Triangle was in the northeastern part of the Atlantic, and then some that was saying it was in the southwestern part of the Atlantic. So it was all over the place. So that kind of goes back to what you said. It's whoever's drawing the lines on it.
Yeah. But this is going to sound strange because I got this from the National Archives of our federal government.
Uh-oh.
The triangle that they recognize as the actual Bermuda Triangle, without saying, hey, there's a mysterious Bermuda Triangle, but what they recognize is what we talked about: Miami to Bermuda to San Juan.
Yep. Very cool.
And I was really surprised to have found that in the National Archives.
I'll just say yes and leave it at that. So, well, what story would you like to start with?
I want to start with one that really fascinated me.
Okay.
Because this happened during World War I, so it could be the Bermuda Triangle, it could be an active war, we don't know. But it's the USS Cyclops out of the Bermuda Triangle.
Good deal. I was hoping you would go with that one first, because that was the first in chronological order.
Yep. So in January 1918, the U.S. Cyclops, which was, let me look at my notes to make sure I get this right. It was one of the larger, I guess, cargo ships.
Yeah, it was a cargo ship. Yep.
It was 550 feet long.
Yep.
And it was used to normally carry coal from Norfolk down to Rio.
Yep.
And on this particular voyage, it left Norfolk January 1918, carrying a full load of coal. And then it was going to do a return trip with a load of manganese ore, which was used in the production of steel, which was very critical during the wartime.
Mm-hmm.
So it dropped off in Rio, picked up the manganese in Rio, and then started to go home, but it made an unscheduled stop in Barbados, and nobody knows why. It wasn't in any ship's logs. It wasn't reported to anybody that I could find. It just made a stop in Barbados. And that unscheduled stop could have actually been the demise of the Cyclops, because had it gone its regular route, it would have gone past the northern tip of the Bermuda Triangle, well out of the way, to go back to Norfolk. By stopping in Barbados, that route puts them right through the center of the Bermuda Triangle, or the Devil's Triangle, whichever one you want to call it. So they get there, they make this unscheduled stop, and in March 1918, I believe it was on the 18th, I can't remember, March 18th, March 19th of 1918.
You're talking about when it left Barbados?
When it left Barbados.
It was March 4th, 1918.
March 4th, I was way off. So March 4th, 1918, it sends the last message it would ever send. Weather's fair, all's well. And then it started sailing right into the Bermuda Triangle. No evidence of anything. It was just, it vanished. They went out, they did some searching, they tried to, they sent ships down to Barbados, they sent ships from Norfolk, started looking, they could never find any wreckage. A crew of 300 just gone. So there on this one, there are three theories, and I've kind of looked into all of them, and they don't seem like they were really good theories. One of them, the Cyclops was known to have engine problems. It was quite common back then. And when it had engine problems, the prop, it was a two prop ship, and the prop that was working would tilt the boat a little bit. So they think that maybe it caught a little bit of a storm. It was hauling this manganese, and there may have been some structural failure from a storm.
Okay.
Now, they didn't keep really good records back then, but from what the National Archives said, there wasn't a storm forecast for that time. It was clear sailing.
Mm-hmm.
So they started looking at the structural failure. Maybe they were carrying over the amount that that ship was rated for.
Mm-hmm.
But even that was, it was 1 ton lighter than normal capacity, not overload capacity. So some people say that it was the structural integrity, but everything that they've researched said, no, it was well within its limits. Now, this one is just me. Theory 2, of course, it was 1918. It was World War I. The Atlantic was a war zone.
Right.
So maybe a German U-boat caught it.
Yeah,
Now, this is just me countering this theory. Yeah, I couldn't find any other records that support my idea.
Yeah, I looked
But
on that as well, and no records of it.
I'm married to a German, and Germans are very good record keepers.
Yep.
And the German military is extremely good at it. And there were no records of any battles or any submarines firing on this ship in that area. Matter of fact, there are no records of a U-boat being in that area at that time. So the last theory is the Bermuda Triangle. And I mean, there have been hundreds of ships and aircraft that have just been tied to this triangle. And of course, the region's mythology in this triangle, it just kind of fits. It fits the suspicious, or the not the suspicious, but the strange disappearance of this ship. They've had people go out with the underwater detectors looking specifically for this ship. And to this day, there is still no trace anywhere of what happened to this ship, the 300 crew, nothing. So that one was my interesting story on the Bermuda Triangle.
Well, so there was one other theory that I happened to see, because I didn't research much about it. Excuse me, but I did see one that said that the captain was reportedly stable or unstable or possibly ill, and that could have been the cause to why the ship disappeared.
I heard that story too,
but I didn't see anything else in it.
I read a report from somebody else that said this captain was very strict.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was a by the book captain, and he said, according to what I know of this captain in his ship's log, if he would have been ill, he would have not have been at the helm.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I didn't see anything
But
else
that
about it other than that.
Because of how strict he was, it also brought up a lesser known theory of a mutiny.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I think I found it. I believe it was one of the records of the National Archives that I read. And they even said that had it been a mutiny, there still would have been some evidence, you know.
Yeah.
Guys getting into a lifeboat and getting away from the ship.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying it was another victim of the Bermuda Triangle, but it just seems strange where it happened. And according to the captain that went out looking for him, that said he was a very strict and by the book captain, it would have placed, when he left Barbados, it would have placed the ship dead center in the Bermuda Triangle when everything was lost. I mean, dead center, right in the middle from all 3 points.
Yeah, there's, I mean, in all the stories that we have and that you hear, planes go missing and down all the time, but you would think if it was something logical, you'd find it. You'd find evidence of it.
Yeah.
And
even if it was just a duffel bag of a sailor washing ashore.
Yeah.
If it was structural integrity, some of the stuff does float.
Yeah. I'm going to look up something as well too, because I know the Mariana Trench is there, and deepest part, on Earth, and they haven't, explored most of it. So, but they still have sonar and stuff that will pick up stuff like that, and nothing.
I mean, they can see. I mean, they can't see, but through sonar, they can ping the bottom of the Mariana Trench.
Yeah. Yeah, and to not find anything, it's just odd. Very odd.
Yeah.
So that kind of goes into, my story. It was the same thing in the Bermuda Triangle, which was Flight 19. And that was 5 U.S. Navy training planes that were led by the instructor, Charles Carroll Taylor. They had a crew of 14 men that on December 5th, 1945, disappeared during just a routine navigation exercise. During the flight, everybody became really confused. The leader reported that his compasses weren't working. He believed they were over the Florida Keys when they were actually likely over the Bahamas. I do have some radio transmission from them. Let me pull that up real quick. I've got everything saved in different spots. One of them was, "We don't know where we are. Everything looks strange." The other one was Charles Carroll Taylor. "Both my compasses are out and I'm trying to find Fort Lauderdale. I am over land, but it's broken. I am sure I am in the Keys, but I don't know how far down." But the problem was they weren't over the Keys. They were over the Bahamas. And so they were already disoriented by that time. Other pilots had started questioning that things were off, saying, "Damn it, if we could just fly west, we would get home. Didn't we fly east to get here?" But there was nothing to show, that they were where they were at. So they, what they kind of, people think is because they were disoriented, they flew in the wrong direction, and then eventually all contact was lost. When they couldn't find when they couldn't find their way back, nobody could contact them. They sent out a rescue plane, which was a PBM Mariner that had 13 crew members, which also vanished. Same exact issues. And then, that essentially doubled the mystery for 27 men lost in the same day. Nothing was found. No wreckage from Flight 19, no debris from the rescue plane, no confirmed crash site. Some of the theories that they thought were a navigation error, and that's kind of the most widely accepted one, that Taylor may have misjudged their location and the trainees just followed him even though they suspected he was wrong. And it's the military. We know when you're told to do something, you follow even if you know they're full of shit. You just go right along with it. And then they likely ran out of fuel and crashed into the ocean. The others were mechanical and environmental issues from a sudden weather change over the Atlantic or compass malfunctions. And then, of course, the Bermuda Triangle theories because of where it happens. Some people believe that there was magnetic anomalies, time distortions, even extraterrestrial. Even this guy, had something to do
Oh,
with
my good friend Blorp.
Blorp, that asshole. Yeah. Yeah. So the pilots were trained, very experienced. Even the rescue plane disappearing threw people off, with no physical evidence being found. It just turned into a lasting mystery. Nobody knows what happened. And that was kind of the end of it.
I mean, I I know when we first started talking about doing the Bermuda Triangle, we wanted to do a ton of stuff, but there are so many stories that
Yeah.
we would be live for like 40, 50, 60 hours.
Yeah, it was difficult even after we had discussed what we would be doing for the episodes. I still went back and I was trying to find different episodes or different topics to talk about for each one, and there's just so much stuff out there that it's nonstop.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, I know a lot of weird shit happens out there, but I mean, if you think about the Bermuda Triangle, it's where like all the cargo ships, it's the main, they pass through it constantly.
Yeah.
So, you have hundreds upon hundreds of ships and planes that fly, you're bound to have accidents.
Yeah. The thing that fascinates me about the Bermuda Triangle, before we get into the Hudson Valley and the Alaskan Triangle, is the ships that make it through but still report anomalies out there.
Yeah.
Like storms that make no sense.
Yeah. And of course, I'm not bringing any of those up today, but there were some that I saw that were, based on that they have no idea what they witnessed or saw, just some weird ass stuff.
Yeah. I want to say for anybody that watched the show Manifest, I think that the vortex they flew through, they didn't actually say it was a Bermuda Triangle, but that would have been the route they took.
Yeah. I've tried to watch that show 3 or 4 times, and I've gotten to episode 2 and said, no, I just can't do it. And
it does get better.
And that's what I've heard. And it sounds absolutely incredible. I have a hard time. If I can't get hooked by episode 1, I'm just like, eh.
Yeah, I've got the same issue.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the Bermuda Triangle is fascinating. Even the ships. I mean, there are thousands of ships and planes that fly through it every day with no issues whatsoever.
Right.
But then, you'll get that one private pilot that flies through it, and he's like, "I flew through a vortex."
Yep.
Not I flew through strange clouds. I flew through a vortex. And he sticks with his story.
Yeah. And
to me, that's like risking your pilot's license.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And if it were me and I knew something like that happened and there was a risk of losing my life, I would lose my license. I wouldn't change my story just to keep my license or just to say I'm full of shit, or I made it all up. I would.
Yeah. What happened? What happened, pilot? Well, navigation error. My instruments went down for a moment, but I got back on track. End of report.
Yeah. Yep. If you're going to talk about it in full or keep your mouth shut.
Yep, exactly. So I guess I'll go next and come from the Bermuda Triangle up here to the Hudson Valley.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
Now, the stories I found for the Hudson Valley, the major stories we've already talked about, and that was the Hudson Valley UFO wave.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to get too much into detail on that one, but I mean, these were spotted all over, not just in the triangle. But it seems like the way people described where they were coming from, it kind of all centered on the Hudson Valley Triangle. You know, they said it was coming from like the Pine Bush area this way, or it was coming from Connecticut back towards the Hudson Valley. So I'm not going to get too much into the UFOs because we've already talked about that. But what I found is inside the triangle, they also started having reports of creatures, but not my good friend Blork. Like one of the reports that came out of the UFO wave was the Kinderhook creature, and the Kinderhook creature's been around for quite some time, and it's a white human-sized figure, sometimes described as a pale Bigfoot.
Okay, I'm going to stop you for a second. Can you spell the name of that creature? I didn't hear about that.
Yep, Kinderhook, Kinderhook.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Just so I can write that down and look at it.
Yep.
Sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
So, but it is basically a pale Bigfoot. And you're probably going to want me to spell this next one, and I will just text it to you later.
Okay.
All right. The next one, this one really fascinated me. It was spotted by some hikers that were out staring at the craft that were flying overhead. And what they described was these tiny little beings that were trying to get them to go into the woods. And when they started describing them, some Native Americans in the area said those are, and I'm going to screw this name up, puckwudgies.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look
And
that up.
I'm like, okay, you guys are just making up words now.
Mm-hmm.
But no, puckwudgies are from Native American folklore, from the Algonquin and Wampanoag tribes. And I probably screwed that tribe up too. And here's where it gets really interesting is the second tribe I mentioned that I'm not going to screw up again. This tribe is tied to the Bridgewater Triangle up in New Hampshire. And what puckwudgies are they are little trickster beings that try and lure you into the woods and basically try and get you into the woods deep enough where you can't see and kill you by having you walk off a cliff or whatever.
That's really cool.
Right. So,
Okay,
but puckwudgies kind of became my new favorite word.
that's really. I'm looking at it right now, and I just learned also something new that the Freetown Fall River State Forest and the Bridgewater Triangle. That's the one that the Bridgewater is one that we were going to discuss, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that one's got some, the Bridgewater Triangle's got some really fascinating things because it has not only the UFOs, these creatures, but it's got disappearances on a moving bus. It's got loss of time.
Huh. We might have to look into that.
Yeah, so I was gonna talk to you about the Bridgewater Triangle and do a full episode on that one too, or at least a signal of the week.
Coined by author Lauren Coleman. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about that afterwards. That's really cool.
So, and then the final stories kind of revolve around the Hudson River itself. And of course, being from Poughkeepsie, I've got to bring this one up first. That's our good river monster, Kipsy. Our equivalent of the Loch Ness Monster.
Yep. I saw that a couple of times up there.
But also, according to folklore of the area, not only is there Kipsy, but there are also giant snakes in the river. And apparently, some people that were walking down near Beacon during the time of the UFO wave had spotted some giant snakes in the river. And I'm not talking like a larger than normal water snake.
Like
They
anaconda
describe them as giant.
Okay.
I never got a size on them, but they all said they were larger than any snake they've seen in the water or in the forest.
Hmm.
And then the area inside the triangle is also famous for shipwrecks dating all the way back to the Revolutionary War, where there are hundreds of ships that are wrecked along the area. I mean, one's outside what is considered the boundary of the Hudson Valley Triangle, but it's the Socrates Lighthouse and the Ansonia that crashed in 1879. And to this day, during low tide, you can still see that ship.
See, I know there's ships. I've seen ships all up and down the Hudson, but it still blows my mind.
But
You know,
there are several Revolutionary War gunships that are down near the Bear Mountain Bridge, just south of us, within the triangle.
see, I've never thought about that. You know, a mutual friend of ours posts stuff all the time about the different ships coming up and down, or I see it on the Facebook pages, but I never have put two and two together that that's in the triangle. And
They try and keep a lot of them. From what I've read, the state of New York tries to keep the location a secret on a lot of them because they don't want treasure hunters to go down and disturb them.
which they would.
In a heartbeat, yeah. So I tied all that together and it kind of intrigued me more. I mean, when I first got into it, I thought, all right, the Hudson Valley UFO or the Hudson Valley Triangle is going to be nothing but UFOs.
Yeah.
And it turned into so much more.
Yep.
So those are my quick stories on the Hudson Valley Triangle.
okay.
I wish some of them were a little bit longer. And like the Pukwudgie, I do plan on checking that out a lot more.
That I was just reading a little bit on there, and that was pretty cool. I
So,
didn't expect.
and I did forget to bring up that, yeah, within the Hudson Valley Triangle, I know you're not a big believer, but there are a lot of sightings of Bigfoot within the triangle as well, including just down in Beacon. That one of our good viewers, Lilith, sent me an article on that recently. They've even got a Bigfoot museum down in Beacon.
Really, I didn't know that. The last thing I got about UFO stuff from Lilith was, I think it was by the people that owned, was it Millhouse? They opened up that new restaurant
Mm-hmm.
that has all the wallpapers like UFO, like Bigfoot, stuff like that around it.
Yep. I'll look for the article on the museum. I mean, it's mostly just artist rendition of what the Bigfoot looks like, but it looks like it'd be an interesting place to go visit. I don't know if it's an actual museum or if it's just an exhibit within the museum. I think it's just an exhibit.
Yeah, I mean, I could have been sent it, but I don't remember. I know there's a UFO store down there somewhere,
Oh yeah.
but the one place that everybody keeps talking to me about down there is Pine Bush.
Oh, Pine Bush. You
I've
go
never
through
been.
Pine Bush. The walls are all painted UFOs. There's murals all over the town.
Yeah.
And then of course the big Pine Bush UFO Festival.
Yeah, that's the one that I want to go see.
Yep.
All right.
So that's what I got.
Okay, so let me pull up this quick one real quick.
And once you're done with the story, I do have a question for you on the Alaskan Triangle.
Okay.
I honestly can't remember the answer to it. I know I've seen a documentary on it.
What's the question?
The mountain that is supposed to have the secret military base in it, is that within the triangle?
Oh, I should know that, and I don't.
I can't even remember the name of the mountain, and I know I've seen at least 10 YouTube podcasts on it and one documentary.
Yeah, one sec. Let me pull it up. 1 second. I I just can't think of the name of it.
We'll come up with a name later. I'll send it to you.
I've got it pulling up right now. So the first one will be on Gary Frank Southerden. So this wasn't really, it happened within the triangle, the Alaska Triangle, but it wasn't your typical ship disappeared, plane disappeared. He was a guy from, and I wish I would have said this first, but he disappeared at age 25. He was from Clay, New York, and I haven't looked it up to see where that is. But he told his family that he just wanted to go and spend the summer, fall and winter of 76 to 77, trapping, hunting, doing all that stuff. And he was at the northeastern part of the state, so right next to Canada, above the Alaska, or above the Arctic Circle. And he was in, it was along Porcupine River. And then as he was doing it, he just kind of disappeared, and no one knew what happened. No one heard anything from him. He was dropped off in a remote area, and that was kind of the last bit of it. In 77, when his family didn't hear anything back from him, they called the Alaska State Troopers to, report a missing person, and they went over to the area. They found his campsite. They found all his personal items, but there was no body or no trace of him anywhere. And that was pretty much it from 77 until 97. In 97, a hunter was in the same area of the state, and he found a human skull near the Porcupine River that he turned in. No other remains were ever found. And because of when it was, there was not very good DNA evidence that, like, what the registry, I guess is the word. They could do DNA evidence, but they had no relation or anything to go off of. So it remained unsolved for decades. In 2022, they kind of opened it again because they had advanced genetic, DNA genealogy, and it was positively identified as having family of the same name. And they don't know. They contacted the family. They closed the case. They found out it was him, but they still don't know what happened. Some people assume that he just got lost and that was it. Even though it was relatively close to the area his camp was, that happens to people all the time, where they get lost a mile from camp and that's it. Other people think that it was a bear attack or another, predator like that, but they can't confirm. And that was pretty much the end of it. It took 47 years before they finally were able to positively identify. And I know that one, like I said, isn't a normal plane or boat disappearing, but it just shows that in areas where weird shit happens, you can just disappear for no reason.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know the full details, but I do know within that triangle, probably along the same area he was hunting, is where the military lost their cargo plane that's still never been found.
Yep, and that's what you're talking about. The can't even pull it up. Flight 44.
Yep.
So that happened in 1950. So on January 26th of 1950, it vanished while flying from Anchorage to Great Falls, Montana. Despite one of the largest search and rescue operations in history, not a single piece of it was ever found. Absolutely nothing. So I've got a timeline here. 11 p.m., the plane checks in via radio over Snag, Yukon. The pilot reports everything is normal. though he mentions heavy icing on the wings. At 11:30 p.m., the flight is scheduled to check in over, I'm going to mess that up.
Some Canadian place.
Yeah, Aishahik, roughly 100 miles away. The check-in never happens. The search Operation Mike is launched, involving 85 aircraft and 7,000 personnel. The search is plagued by extreme weather, temperatures dropping to minus 81 degrees Fahrenheit, and rough terrain. The search was abruptly scaled back when search planes were diverted to find a B-36 bomber carrying a non-nuclear Mark IV bomb that went missing in the same general region. I can't even read the typing I did. Wow.
Now, see, I did not know about the B-36.
Yeah, I didn't know initially. I knew what Flight 44 was, but I didn't know that they had scaled back because of that. But yeah, it was, I can't remember all the details to it, but it just, something happened and they said, okay, well, we're pulling efforts off of Flight 44 and we're going to this.
So that's why I was asking about that mountaintop. Is it?
Yeah. Mount Hayes.
Mount Hayes.
Yep. Which
the
is
reported hollow mountain being run by aliens.
Yep. It's Mount Hayes, located near Fairbanks. It is rumored to host covert military operations, often linked to national security, research and surveillance, aliens, conspiracy theories. The military denies it, of course.
Yeah. If the military admitted something, I wouldn't believe it. If they deny it, I 100% believe it.
Yep. That's kind of the way it goes.
Yeah. The Department of Defense or the CIA want me to not believe in aliens, come out and say, oh, they're 100% real. We got 4 of them. Be like, no, you guys are lying.
Oh, yeah. So there is a few different theories on it. One of it was scientific, which was glacial burial. The plane may have crashed into a glacier and has been, swallowed up by crevasses or moving ice covered in snow, etc. So that's why they haven't found it. The environmental, which kind of was the same thing, severe icing. It was unpressurized and restricted to 10,000 feet. So heavy ice could have caused a sudden stall and caused it to crash into the Yukon. Then they had paranormal, which is vile vortices. Some theories suggest the Alaska Triangle contains vile vortices or magnetic anomalies similar to the Bermuda Triangle that interfere with navigation. And then conspiracy, the secret search. Some believe the military found the plane while looking for the missing B-36. And it says nuclear bomber, but it was non-nuclear, but kept the discovery classified for unknown reasons. As of 2025 and 2026, new teams using AI-assisted satellite imagery and specialized drones have started the search again. They are focusing on Wellesley Lake and surrounding glaciers, hoping that melting ice might finally reveal it.
That would be nice, but I still like to believe the conspiracies.
Of course. And
I don't know why.
You know my opinion. I do not believe in 99.9% of conspiracy theories, but they are a hell of a lot of fun to read about and watch.
Oh, they are.
There's just something about it.
That's like this show tonight. I mean, do I believe the Bermuda Triangle, the Alaska Triangle, or the Hudson Valley Triangle?
Yeah.
I'm iffy. I believe there's some anomalies out there that happen.
Yeah, for sure. But
there may be some pugwudgies.
that was pretty cool. I'd never heard of those.
I had to work that one in one more time.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
The Bermuda Triangle and Alaska Triangle, I can see how a lot of people, planes, etc., disappear. I mean, in the Alaska, it's a massive, massive wilderness, dense forest, mountain ranges, glacial, it's just so much can happen in those areas if you're not careful.
Yeah.
And the Bermuda, with the weather there, you're in the ocean and you're fucked. You're sunk,
Yep. Now, so, the vortex that they've talked about, I think it's interesting that you have a vortex in the Bermuda Triangle. You have a vortex in the Alaska Triangle.
Yep.
But they've also had vortex reported in the Bridgewater Triangle.
Yep.
And the Bridgewater Triangle is the triangle I was talking about where the ley lines intersect,
Oh,
as
okay.
they do in Bermuda and as they do in Alaska.
So I do have a question on the Hudson since I didn't do a lot of research on that one. One of the things I pulled up, it said that there was, how do they put it, like mass wilderness inside of the Hudson Triangle. Where did you say it goes from? Because I know you've got now, of course, the Gunks and the Catskills up there. Are those inside of the triangle?
Just depends on who draws the line. Some have it inside. Some have the triangle going all the way up to the Catskill, to the town of Catskill.
Okay.
And then out to Pine Bush. But yeah, there is a lot of wilderness out there. I mean, when you were here last, and we went on some of those trips out into across the river.
Yeah.
That's part of the triangle, and that goes all the way out to Pine Bush.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I've never been to Pine Bush, but I've been to all the areas, just around Poughkeepsie. And I know there's the mountains and stuff. Well, I'll call them hills because they're not mountains like Utah, but
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. It's gorgeous though. But when it said that it was mass wilderness, I'm like, wait a minute, it doesn't seem like wilderness like in Alaska.
No, it's you get out on some of these places. It's wilderness between the towns.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can get on some of these back highways and not see a town for 20, 30 minutes, nothing but forest.
Yeah.
So, but it's nothing like Alaska where there is nothing.
Yeah. It's like Georgia,
Yeah.
Well, you weren't very far from where I was at, but you're in the town of Brunswick, you're driving 10, 15 minutes before you're in Jessup or another town, and it's just nothing but trees on.
Yeah.
All
it's
sides.
exactly like that.
Yeah. And I know there's places like that there that I think when going from Beacon to Poughkeepsie, you see a bunch of forest and stuff.
So yeah, to answer your question on like the Catskills, it just depends on whose line you're looking at. I've seen the line at Poughkeepsie. I've seen the line at Socrates. I've seen the line go all the way up to the base of the Catskill Mountains and then out to Pine Bush.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it just kind of threw me off because, researching the other two and then looking at that, and the first thing I see is, oh yeah, it's in the middle of a mass wilderness, and that's why everybody and everything happens. And I go, well, that seemed a little odd because I'm used to being in town where, it's like you can get lost, but it wasn't a wilderness in town. So,
yeah. So, but I know just this past couple of months, they've had to send search and rescue out into these areas for lost hikers. So yeah, it is a lot of wilderness.
Yeah. See, and I remember my first time going out there, I had a list of stuff I wanted to do. And the biggest one was go to the Gunks or the Catskills, cause I looked up all the different places to go hiking, and it was just, there was a lot of area out there that you just don't, when people say New York, you think either very far northern by Canada, in Buffalo and all that, or you think the city.
Yep.
You don't think of everything in between.
Yeah. If you drive from here to Albany, up the 9, you're in wilderness probably 80% of the time.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's what, 80-mile trip, 75-mile trip.
Yeah, I think so. It's about an hour and a half, roughly.
Yeah.
So 80 miles.
Yep. That's like when we brought you to the airport. I mean, we're heading to the big city, and for most of the trip, we were in the woods.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was that first trip down, that was amazing. Just driving through, because it's not like out here where when you drive through the, down I-15, you just got city, 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 city the whole way down.
Yeah. And then as you get closer to Pine Bush, it's even fewer towns and villages and more forest.
So Pine Bush, is that east of you guys or west of you guys?
West of us.
Okay.
So we stopped down in Sleepy Hollow, didn't we?
No.
We went through Sleepy Hollow.
We went through Sleepy
Bring-
Hollow.
yeah.
I've never
So
been.
you know where Sleepy Hollow is.
Yeah.
The line that I'm using is Sleepy Hollow to Poughkeepsie, and then Pine Bush kind of go northwest from Sleepy Hollow and southwest from Poughkeepsie.
Okay.
And you'll hit Pine Bush.
Okay.
It's more of a straight shot from here than it is from Sleepy Hollow.
Okay. Yeah, I've never been. I've been to the ones around Poughkeepsie, Beacon, and what's the other ones? Now I can't even think of the names.
Beacon, Fishkill.
Fishkill.
Yeah.
What's across the river?
From Fishkill?
No, from Poughkeepsie.
Kingston. Yeah, Kingston's way off across the river.
Yeah, I've been there, but that's about it. And then, of course, driving down to the city, but just passing through everything.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was an eye-opener for me when I first moved out here, because I thought the same you did. I thought the wilderness was all up by Canada, and, from Albany down is nothing but skyscrapers.
Yeah.
And I come out here and I drive from here to Kingston. I'm like, this is Georgia.
Yeah.
This is what I remember from Georgia.
Yep. That was my first thought, was the same as yours, that I didn't expect any wilderness until northern New York, upstate.
Yeah.
And once you're there, yeah, it's exactly like Georgia.
Yeah. And you drive 5 minutes out of Poughkeepsie, 10 minutes out of Poughkeepsie, you're in the woods.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think that's why I've been so fascinated with Alaska is, you don't even have to you can buy something on literally a third of an acre and walk out your back door, and you've got your small backyard and then nothing but wilderness outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
But
well, we could go on and on all night long on this, but we were going to make this show about an hour long, because here in about 30 minutes, I believe the Artemis II is going to start its descent to return to Earth.
Yeah, actually, let me do it this way. I was pulling that up earlier. I was looking at it on YouTube, so I'm glad you actually reminded me about that. So Artemis II.
If I remember right, the news this morning said that it splashes down at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So 6 p.m. your time.
The one that I was looking at. There was one that I was, maybe this is it. Going 13,000 or 20,000 miles an hour right now. It is 15,800 kilometers away. 74 minutes.
74 minutes.
Yeah.
So being big space junkies that we are, we want to get down and watch the Artemis return to Earth too.
Yeah, I don't care yet. Oh wait, no, I was looking at that wrong. Distance to Earth is 15,000 kilometers. Comms delay is 74 milliseconds. Mission progress 99.5%. So
yeah, I think there's an hour left.
Yeah,
an hour left before splashdown.
Yep. So I've been on that since it left. I've been watching.
Yeah. So I know it's probably never going to happen. But if by any chance the crew of the Artemis II happened to stumble across our channel, congratulations on a wonderful mission. and hope everything goes good from this point to splashdown.
Yep. They are, if you go to YouTube and go to, let me put a NASA space flight, there's a live video right now. They're in the, I don't know if you're able to see it, but they're in the cockpit right now, or they're in their seats, all in their gear.
Yep.
So they're ready to come down.
So yeah, I think if I remember right, in about 30 minutes is where the most treacherous part of the journey takes place.
Oh yeah, it's the re-entry.
Yeah.
So they're 9,547 miles away.
Oh.
So not very long.
Anyway, we haven't decided what we're going to do next week because of my computer malfunction, but we are going to do an episode next week to get us back on track.
Yep.
And as soon as the computer's back on, stay tuned for more signals of the week. We've got a few things already planned out.
Yep.
Alien Mike, you got anything?
I think that's it. Other than that, check out Colin at Horrific Podcast if you haven't already.
Yep.
And then like and subscribe.
Sakona Plays on YouTube. Check her out.
Yep.
I watch her game all the time. It's fun to hear her commentary.
Yep. Good time. So other than that, just like you said, stay tuned, and one of us or the channel will post what we're doing probably by Sunday. So, but it'll be this next Friday, like you said, so we can get back on track.
And I know Alien Mike says this each week when we log out, but it's more important this week. Keep your eyes up in the sky.
Yeah.
And well wishes to the Artemis, and hope they have no issues from this point on.
There you go. All right. With that, everybody have a good night.
Good night, everybody.